gives you a little picture of what you'll see with Workday, kind of how the interface works. It looks very different from what we have here today, but I think it's very different in a good way. So this is a scrolling loop that we had when we presented our tech exploration event. You'll be seeing this in lights throughout campus as you join us for events that we are demonstrating Workday at. So a brief agenda for today. I'll give an introduction to Workday, and then I'll also give an implementation update about where we are in the project timeline. We'll have questions at the end, but we can certainly be casual. If you have any questions throughout my presentation today, then feel free to let me know. And can everyone hear me in the back? I've never needed a microphone before, but I'm happy to use one today if needed. So when we talk about why we need Workday, I think about things that I've heard President Hatch and Brogan and Hoff say. And specifically, these quotes are from a video that we're working to produce that talks about our leadership support for the Workday project. President Hatch talks about how it's aligned with our academic mission. He says that because it's simplifying time-consuming processes, we're allowed to, and enabled to be able to spend more time on what really matters here at Wake Forest, which is the preeminent responsibility of helping students lead lives that matter. Rogan often talks about the connectedness of our Wake Forest culture and the irony that even though that we're built on relationships here at Wake, our systems don't really talk to each other. So the technology that really undergirds what we do every day is not connected. So this is really a way of re-upping our technology and getting it to a point that represents the connected nature of who we are here at Wake Forest. And then Hoff has talked about the feedback that you in this room have provided, and faculty and staff throughout the campus community, about processes that are outdated and the tools that don't really get us where we need to be. So he says that Workday will make it possible to implement the changes you have requested as we further our commitment to operational excellence. So what are some of those pieces of feedback and some of those changes that you've requested? Pain points from our legacy systems. The systems don't really align with our academic experience. We need to really revitalize those, that our administrative practices are reflective of our academic excellence here at Wake Forest. We need transparency in our processes so that we're allowed to put information into the system, track its progress. And we quite frankly have too many manual or shadow processes that really can be prone to errors when so much of it is done in a manual environment. The quality control, while we hope it's there, just frankly, sometimes errors can creep into what we're doing. So we need a way to reduce those errors, streamline across the board, and we're using systems, as Rogan alluded in what he said about connectedness, systems that just quite frankly don't talk to one another. So those systems that don't talk to each other, and I'm looking at Brandon because this is a slide that's inspired by him. So one of the things that I've heard Brandon talk about often when he presents about Workday is the need for his team and for teams throughout the organization to have to swivel their chair from one system to another. And so the systems that we have to swivel our chair to are Novatime, the Finance and Human Resources modules of Banner, WF at Work, Works, Open Hire, and Red Carpet. I led with Novatime here because we were, as I mentioned recently, at Tech Exploration, and someone said, I know you're doing a lot around change management. But they said, I'll tell you how to do change management for the Workday project. Just put up a big sign that says Novatime and some of these other things are going away, and everyone will buy into it and love it, right? Because they're going to be replaced by something that's very streamlined and is one place where you'll have to go. So the need that Brandon talks about to swivel the chair from one system to another is not going to be present, because you're going to have one system that lets you do everything related to these human resources, budget, finance processes. It's one system that instead of having to go multiple different places, you can access it from multiple different devices. Because what we have today is not mobile optimized, so you're often restricted to this. You have to be at your desk to do some of these things. Whereas now, you'll be able to use your tablets, your iPhones, you'll be able to recruit on the go. It's all cloud-based and mobile optimized, so it'll be very much an enhancement in that space. I mentioned briefly the different areas that this will touch: human resources, finance, budget and planning, and also payroll. And so looking here, it shows the different aspects of all of those that will be rolled into Workday. So when we think about human resources, it's everything from recruiting to compensation changes. We recently had our annual benefits enrollment, and so that's a good example of something that will roll into Workday once it's implemented. In terms of payroll, we have time tracking, direct deposit, pay slips that will come under the Workday umbrella. And then in terms of finance, everything from P-card statements to journal entries, and then in terms of budget and planning, our annual budget cycle and position budgeting. So all along the way, with all these different items that you see here on the screen, we have process enhancements that you can expect. There's just a few examples here. Directories, for instance, you'll no longer have to go to Win and search for folks, but you'll be able to access a dynamic org chart that lets you see folks and how they relate to different teams. You'll be able to click on those, call them directly from your mobile phone, etc. So you can also do different actions, such as if someone's moving from one team to another, you can do that from that directory view as well. Expenses is another good example. Currently, we submit paper documentation, and we have to route it through a lot of different areas to get manual signatures. All of that will be done through an automated workflow in Workday. So these are written here on a handout that I have, as well as some different information about Workday, what it is, contact information, etc. So I hope you'll all leave with one of these today, and I hope that you'll take a sticker as well, so you can proudly display Workday on your computers or your cars or wherever you'd like to do that. So Wake Forest is joining a community of organizations that have successfully implemented Workday. It really is designed around the nuances of higher education. As you all know, higher education is a very complex environment, and so we need a system that's going to be able to adapt to those complexities. So Wake Forest is joining Brown, Cornell, Georgetown, LSU, The Ohio State University, and Yale, and many other higher education organizations that have successfully implemented Workday. There's also areas outside of higher education, and I think it's pretty neat because if you think about your day, all of these, or a portion of these organizations, may be ones you interact with. So think about a typical day for me. I'll eat a Chiquita banana, come to work, I'll use Lenovo and Adobe products, I'll take a lunch break and go to Panera, swing by Target, go home, I have an Amazon package waiting for me, and then I binge watch Netflix at night. So all those organizations are using Workday, so my day is pretty consuming. So I'm happy that Wake will be joining the ranks of folks who are successfully using it. Having been at BB&T, one of the Workday clients, I really loved it. I saw it implemented very well, and quite frankly, I missed it when I came to Wake, so I'm glad that we are reintroducing it and we'll be joining the Workday family. Now, any questions so far just about what Workday is, why we're implementing it, how it will help improve? We're going to jump into an implementation update where we'll kind of talk through the timeline, but any questions that surface so far about Workday, I can answer for you. All right, well, in terms of the timeline, so we began our planning phase in 2016, and then we moved through the architect phase, and now we are in the midst of the configure and prototype phase, which, as you can see by the long bar here, is where we'll spend the bulk of our time in the project. This yellow line marks where we are right now. So we have built a prototype, P2. We've built a prototype called P1 in the architect phase. And these really enable us to be able to test data, load organizational processes, and then also have something that we can demonstrate to you, the campus community. So let's talk about the architect phase and what we have achieved in that phase. So we held discovery and design sessions as we were learning about the requirements needed throughout campus. We reviewed more than 2,000 reports so we could see how we could recreate those, make them on demand for you in Workday. We looked at data mapping for our legacy systems over to Workday as we prepare to load that data, move it into the product. We identified more than 80 integrations. A lot of them were things that we weren't able to integrate with our past systems, but now we'll be able to have integrations through the Workday product. And we validated our July 2, 2018 launch date. So on July 2nd, that's when Workday will come to all of you. That's also represented here on the timeline with a star. This is what we're moving toward. Before we get there, we will progress through the configure and prototype phase. We'll enter our testing environment. We'll deploy, but it doesn't stop there. We'll have post-production, and this could go on. I could draw on the wall for all that we'll be doing afterwards to ensure that you are enjoying Workday, that you are informed about how to use it, so on and so forth. So as I mentioned, we're in the configure and prototype phase. So let's dive into the timeline once again, look at some of what's going on in configure and prototype. I mentioned we're loading 2 prototypes, P2 and P3. We're validating human resources, payroll, and financial data. I'm told that we are one of Workday's first clients who, back in the architect phase when we loaded P1, we actually loaded our own organizational data into it. Typically you just have mock data that doesn't represent the actual organization, but we are ahead of the game because we've loaded our own financial data, so kudos to Brandon and his team. Now that enables us to be able to advance beyond simply loading data, and we can actually load in some of the organizational processes that you rely on every day. So we are ahead of the game, so I'm pleased to report that. Speaking of reports, we are building and testing reports. So all those reports that we identified and reviewed back in the architect phase, we're now building them out in Workday and testing them so we can make sure that you are going to be able to have real-time data that helps you make decisions and predictions that you need. So we've moved on to that. And we're establishing those integrations with the tools that we identified during the architect phase. We're holding demonstrations across campus. So in addition to presentations like this, we're having presentations where you can actually get in and experience the system. Hope that you'll join for some of those. And then we're having sessions where you can help us confirm that the business processes that we're loading are ones that are going to accurately reflect what you do every day. We're also developing the end user training plan. So as I mentioned, we want to have just-in-time training so that you have instructor-led and on-demand offerings that help you to be able to navigate the new system. So jumping back here, as I alluded to earlier, we are talking about change management, or change capabilities, what you're referred to. And it may not be as easy as just saying, okay, these systems go away. I love that story though. If it were that easy, just making a sign or banner, we'd be able to check that right off the list. But we are implementing a change management practice that actually maps over to this timeline that you see here. So the model we're using is called ADCAR. It was developed by an organization called ProSci, and ProSci is one of the top change management firms in the world. And we had their Chief Innovation Officer, Tim Creasy, come to campus and speak to us about the ADCAR model and how we can use it to successfully drive Workday adoption. A lot of those clients that I showed you on a previous slide, they followed the same model to make sure that it's well communicated to campus, the campus is being brought along, and that we're getting their feedback throughout the process. So ADCAR stands for awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement. And so you'll see that each of those different stages relates to one of the phases that we're in with the implementation timeline. So we have been heavily involved in just building awareness around Workday so the campus knows what it is, why we're implementing it, when it will be here, etc. We're now involved in the desire phase, where we are promoting Workday, highlighting some of those reasons to get excited about the product. So we hope you all, after this presentation, will join us in that and go back to your departments and talk about how great it's going to be when Workday arrives in July 2018. As we progress through the configure and prototype phase, as we get into our testing and deployment, this is where we'll really jump into knowledge and ability. And so that's where you'll see this on-time training come into play. So you'll start to see those modules hit the web. Certainly encourage you to look through those, interact with them, experience them, and to join some of the classes that we'll be offering around campus. I don't want to talk through each and every one of these items, but I do want to hit some key points that are going to be critical to the success of our implementation. Communications. So as Sarah mentioned, I'm the Workday Communications lead. I'm so thankful to the steering committee that they have seen the importance of communication, that they've said that someone really needs to be driving communications for the project, and that it's different than change management. We have a separate change management lead, Melissa Clodfelter. So in terms of communications, we have launched a website, workday.wfu.edu. That is listed on the handout that I'll be passing out to each of you. But I encourage you to go there, make it your homepage, bookmark it, look at it every day. You don't have to do that. But go out there periodically because you can read more about the system, read more about the process enhancements. It's also where we'll be archiving news articles So when we publish anything in the campus community, we'll be archiving it there from places like Inside WFU, looking at Kevin here, Inside WFU, different corporate email announcements we have, all that will be archived there. It's the future home of learning, so as we do post those modules, that's where they'll be archived. And you can also read more about the project leadership that's driving this project. We'll have a push communication to you in the form of a newsletter. It'll go every month. It'll have an update from the project sponsor, who is Hoff Milam. So he'll have a chance to communicate with you about the 3 most pertinent topics for that month. So the things that rise to the top, we want to be able to communicate those to you and have you aware of those as we go throughout. We're planning to send a copy to administrative, academic campus leaders, any staff members who may have someone who they are directly working with in terms of their reporting capacity. So we'll send an advanced copy. If you are a manager, you will receive one, and it will have some talking points in there about how you can work with your teams, promote these items, and so on and so forth. As with Workday itself, these will be mobile optimized newsletters, so you can read them on the go. I'm going to go ahead and be able to mimic that mobile optimized technology. As I mentioned, we want you to come out and experience the system. So you'll be seeing us at places throughout campus, different campus events, where we will be providing opportunities for you to try out the system. We had a great showing at Techsploration. See many of you who stopped by our booth and got to go up to the touch screen and see what we call the worklets on Workday and really go through the processes using the system. We also were able to show what it'll look like on iPads, on iPhones. So we hope that as you see our booths throughout campus, that you'll stop by, you'll say hello, and you'll get a chance to go in and see the system firsthand. This is also good because we want your feedback early and often throughout the process. And so as you're there interacting with the system, and we're configuring the system, we want to be able to hear how your experience is going with it, because we want to be able to take your feedback and use that as we work to configure the system. We have a group of campus change partners. I see several of you in here. Jen, I saw you. You are atop our list for advancement. So I'd encourage you to look at this and see who throughout your campus areas, your schools or departments, is assigned to be the campus change partner. The goal is for you to interact with them often. They will be working directly with our project leads, working with the steering committee, and hearing the most pertinent updates that they can take and communicate to you. They're also a great source of communication back to us. So as you have feedback, you can certainly let them know, and they'll be passing that along to us. So we have tried to establish communication in every way that we possibly can. This is also posted to the website, so if you look through and see who your campus change partner is, you can do that on the web. You've heard a common theme through what I've said today, that we want to hear from you. We want your feedback. And so in addition to the newsletters that have an email address that you can send back to us, in addition to the campus change partners, we have a couple of feedback mechanisms on the web. So you'll see a traditional contact form where you can fill in your name, your email, the topic that you want to provide feedback on, or that you have questions on, and then you have a free-form text field where you can input that. Whenever you click submit on it, it will go to the project office, who oversees the Workday project, and they will look at it and decide who to parse it out to within the project team. So someone will read it, they will log your questions, your ideas, and then they will respond to you. This is great, but you may not want to put your name, and if you don't, we have a way for you to provide confidential feedback as well. So on the web, actually on the same form, you'll see a link that says, if you don't want to provide your name, if you want to remain anonymous, then you can use that form. Now, of course, the follow-up won't be able to happen because we don't know who to follow up to, but we wanted to be able to extend that option just so that you can provide feedback and comfort. Now, we want your feedback during this presentation, and we want your questions. And I couldn't end without having a shameless plug to follow us on Twitter. So please go to Workday at Wake, follow us. We're launching into a Twitter campaign, so you'll see a lot of information communicated out that way as well. You can also email directly to workday@wfu.edu with any questions or ideas that you may have. And again, please visit us at workday.wfu.edu. So what questions do we have? We answered it all. Are you excited?
Yes.
Good, good.
All right.
Yes?
So I'm not sure I'm going to ask this the right way.
Sure.
So having gone through these types of experiences at other organizations, I have a healthy dose of skepticism about
Sure.
where this will go. Particularly for those of us who do not organizationally fit in a traditional box. And so often these systems are very rigid and you have to do this. If you don't fit in that box, you're going to get lost. Excuse me, I'm going to lose my voice. So my question is, how flexible is the system, particularly for people who don't fit organizationally in the traditional hierarchy role? What happens?
Yeah, great question. I'll take a shot at it, and I'll look to my steering committee colleagues as well. But what I can tell you about Workday, I'll answer that in kind of a couple of different buckets. One is that we say that the system is configurable but not customizable. And so what that means is that there's one line of code that goes throughout all the different organizations, universities, and organizations outside of universities who are using it. And so what that does is it enables us to be able to really tap onto the success that they've had with it. So, they're not going to let us put ourselves too far out on an island, because then we'll get into an environment where we've been in the past, where we've had a lot of processes that don't talk to each other, aren't transparent, etc. But they do let you configure it. And so we are able, and this is what we're doing in the configuration and prototype phase right now, to look at it and say, how are we going to adapt this for Wake Forest, and some of the position nuances that we have, and the way that we do things the Wake Forest way. How are we going to take this and make it best fit our needs? So we have that process in place, and we are actively working with campus departments to make sure that we are configuring it in such a way. So another thing that I'll point out to you, because I had a healthy dose of skepticism whenever we launched it at VBT, and I often heard folks talk about the Workday community. I didn't believe it at the time, but now looking back, I can see that what I see in terms of the Workday product is a result of some of the feedback that I communicated when I was working at VBT. So the Workday community, the community of all universities and organizations that use it throughout the world, and if you have things that you want to take and customize and processes that you feel like we need to put in place that will make it fit Wake Forest, maybe improve the product, they have a very dedicated social community where you can put that information in, and they will look at opportunities to be able to adapt the product to be able to fit it. And so one of the nice things is, as Notre Dame has ideas, or Brown has ideas, then they'll update the product, and then we'll benefit from that, and then Wake Forest can in turn influence the product as well. So there are a lot of great options. I, as well as a skeptic, I have come to love it. So I think you will as well, but I think it's a good thing for us to be attuned to. So would my colleagues on the steering committee like to add anything to that?
I'm Beth Hope, I'm working in the Provost's office. Thanks, that's a good question. That I think a lot of people have, but particularly I think you're in a unique situation, yeah. So one of the reasons why we liked Workday as a product was because of its flexibility to do things in a way that other systems haven't. It's just sort of the next tier of software, I guess you'd say, for places to use. So it has a lot more flexibility and nuance to it that Banner just simply doesn't have. And even when we looked at the Banner XE upgrades that were coming, they were just sort of a better version of Banner, whereas this was just a completely different thing, much more nimble, much more accessible, much more transparent. And so I think it has a lot more abilities to meet unique needs than other systems. It will still be a big part, like Eric said, of us configuring that correctly. So a lot of what happens between now and November in this phase, this very long phase of the project that we're in, is the chance for different folks on campus to engage in some, and I think it'll be probably towards the end of the summer when this happens more, that we actually have some engagement where the folks on the project team, the team leads, are able to go out to units and say, here's the system, we can do this workflow, let folks see it, and then let them give feedback and say, well, that doesn't really work for us because we're different, we're not a typical department or whatever, we have a joint degree. What's that?
I'm not in a department at all.
Exactly.
So my follow-up question is, in
Yeah.
terms of communication
Yeah.
and information, other than these settings, how, and the center's the same way. We're unique, we acknowledge we're unique, and we don't want to consume some time. But there are other folks out there who do not fall in a traditional either academic or administrative department.
Yes.
And so getting information out and understanding their needs is not evident.
Right. And so one of the things actually, so as we looked at different products, one of the things too was the fact that we thought about our academic excellence, and part of that has been funding center grants, trying to do joint degree programs, which end up with a lot of folks that aren't in any particular department. Yeah, we've tried to be very innovative academically, but we've not had a system that we've had to work around Banner to make that happen. And so we wanted a system that would actually work with us to support the innovation we wanted to do. So I think we're committed to that. One of the things I've noticed, and I've been working with Melissa Clodfelter on, is in terms of our change management partners, that team, we've had Lynn Sutton as a representative for the provost office. Lynn is retiring in June, so we've got to replace her in that role. But the other thing that Melissa and I need to sit down and do is look at, okay, when you say the provost office, what do you mean by that? And what areas within the provost office already have their own representative, and what areas don't. And so instead of just simply finding someone else to fill in where Lynn has been, I think we need to break that down a bit more and make sure we're communicating with like the center grants and some of our different programs that aren't as traditional, to make sure they're getting the communication that they need to the project and the project back to them. So I'll say that we didn't think that through initially, but we're not even halfway through the project yet, so I think we're going to find a place to redo that and kind of engage those offices more, because we haven't engaged the campus tremendously yet. That'll happen mainly, like I said, starting the end of summer. So we're at a good time to do that, but it's a very valid point.
I would just add, I'm Brandon Gill, Finance. I would just add that really to complement what Eric was saying is to stay in tune with the website. Because the idea of implementing Workday is exactly what Eric said. We really need the input from the campus community to make sure we're doing this right. To eliminate surprises on the back end. We don't want to get to July 1 and somebody raise their hand and say, wait a minute, you didn't ask me to, and I didn't tell you how this is going to impact our area. We don't want surprises. That's not helpful for anyone. So, as Beth mentioned, beginning in July, going through, I think, mid-September, will be these, what we're calling confirmation sessions, which is where we will walk through a number of processes. And there will be a schedule. So travel will be this week, procurement will be this week, budget will be this week, and recruiting will be this week. And for those processes that you're most concerned about from your respective unit, you'll be able to attend those, see how it's going to walk through on the process, and then provide feedback. Say, wait a minute, for our unit, this is going to be challenging because A, B, and C. And so we'll really need your help to participate in those sessions. If you miss it, then we're going to miss your input. And we don't want that to happen. So just please monitor the website. Eric was sending out communications so you can participate in those sessions. And that will be helpful for everyone.
Can we get back to the timeline slide?
Absolutely.
I just want to say one thing along those lines. So when you look at, we're in the second tenant, and so this is the first time we've had Wake Forest data in a Workday system, and that's where the teams that are heavily involved in this are doing data validation, being sure our information data came back correctly. And again, these are the sessions that Brandon's been speaking of. So when you all give feedback during those sessions, well, some of the feedback, depending on how complicated it is, they can just immediately go in and change. Some of it will take longer. So the ones that's more complicated, we'll submit those, and then we'll get a third tenant back. And that should be able to reflect the changes, the feedback we've gotten from campus during this time. And so one of the things that we like also about this system, unlike other products, is that it has this phased approach where we create a tenant. This didn't have Wake Forest data. It was just allowing us to look at some workflows and processes. We made some changes. We put our data in. Then we got this. We validate it. We get feedback from campus. We put those changes in. We create this. And so we have several opportunities to make sure that we're engaging campus as much as possible and that we're creating a workflow, configuration decisions that actually reflect what people need. And so then by the time we finally go live, we have a gold tenant that is the tenant we go live with. So it's nice to have several opportunities to create changes based on feedback we get. It's also, as Brandon said, just extremely important that you all participate as much as you can. And if a notification goes out on the website that something's happening 4 weeks from now and you've got surgery scheduled or you can't be here for some reason, you're going on PTO, get someone else from your office to be there, make sure that there's some way that your business needs, processes are reflected so that we don't miss an opportunity, to get feedback from you. Someone else had a hand up.
A couple of things that I'm a little concerned about, to be quite frank. First of all, these visits, I just want to clear up, these visits to the departments, is it just the top people in the department, or is it everybody in the department?
Well, the communication will go out on the website so that everybody is aware of when the sessions are happening. I think it will probably be up to each department to decide who they feel like is most useful to go. The majority of the time, that is the folks who are actually engaged in the process. I mean, whether that's a business manager, an administrative assistant, as opposed to like a dean. I mean, we're engaging with the deans at a different level, but the hope is the people who actually work in the process are the ones who are attending these in order to get feedback about it.
And that was my concern when you mentioned there was a newsletter going out to leaders. I think in a lot of departments, whether academic or administrative, the person in charge of the department will be the person using the process the least. So I'm concerned if that newsletter goes out, what's the lag between someone like me who is the administrative coordinator and actually does the financials, or a business manager getting that same information, or should there even be a lag?
Yes, that's a very good question. Let me clarify that it would be a slightly advanced copy, something it gets, day or two before, where they'll see it and say, hey, this is going out to the campus. We want to make sure that you, have this information as well, that you know how to use it in team meetings, et cetera. And then the next day, it would go out to the masses across campus. So they would have the same exact information. We just want to be able to, one of the things we've seen as we've studied past implementations is they say that you need to have communications that empower campus leaders to be able to engage folks, early and often throughout the process. So we're doing that, but we want to make sure that same exact information is communicated to everyone on campus. So it won't be anything.
I don't think
Yeah.
a lot of department chairs or department heads are going to be the one actually presenting the information. It will be the admins or the business manager.
Sure, absolutely. And so, yes, so you will get that as well. And, and if there's anyone that, you would suggest to add to an early distribution list, let me know, because I want to make sure that it's the most effective form of communication that works for Wake Forest. We're looking at what the best practices are for past implementations, but I'm also very cognizant that Wake Forest is, a unique place and that we need to adapt our communication strategy to fit that. So if you have ideas, please let me know. I want to make sure it works for everyone. Yeah, absolutely.
Like Eric, I could add to that too. The business administrator forum, we have a lot of people that attend those meetings. We had, a week or two ago, we had, I think, 40 departments across the university recognized. People like Sharon, strong attenders at each meeting. And I recognize a lot of other faces in the room. If you are not in the business administrator forum or on the listserv, please let me know, because we can easily add you to that. And we share a lot of workday information. In fact, we had a demo at the last meeting and walked through PTO processes and other things. So if you're not in that group, I really encourage you to be a part of that group.
Any questions? What other questions do we have? Yes. So we sent the first one last month, and you'll be getting another one, I would say in the next 2 weeks in May. So the goal is to have them monthly, so you'll see them really starting on an uptick, the next month or
Okay,
so.
so that's my concern. I guess you sent one out.
I didn't get it done.
Okay,
I mean, this is the issue.
great.
I think, what you're using is great for the administrative department.
Sure.
The academic, including centers and institutes, it doesn't work.
Interesting. So are you all...
Because they're headed up by academics.
Right.
And I don't know who you send it to for the Center for Bioethics. Maybe it was Lynn, I don't know, but it hasn't got down to me.
No,
We submit
the newsletter was
broadcasts.
supposed to be, it was a broadcast email to
Yeah, so it
campus.
goes to all
So it
faculty
was
and
all
staff. So if
faculty
you're
and
on that
staff.
distribution list, then
Yeah.
you should have received it.
But which
Regular
faculty
staff and
distribution?
advancement.
Yeah.
Which distribution?
So maybe we need to go back to the broadcast email. Is that managed by advancement, the broadcast email list? Okay, sorry, Kevin. So,
I'm not sure. You're right. You're
And I'm
wondering
in
where the
advancement, but I
broadcast
didn't get it.
comes from?
well, what we're
Yeah,
wanting to
whenever
say
you
is our desire is that this newsletter goes goes to the entire campus, all faculty and staff. And so we thought that's what we were doing, but it sounds like some folks didn't get it.
Yeah, so we send to the broadcast faculty. and
We're not
staff.
involved in all of that list. I'm assuming that's an ISHR
Okay.
thing.
We'll look at it because,
I mean,
yeah,
I
we send
literally
it
just
to.
type in an address,
Okay.
broadcast all.
Yeah, that's what we do as well. So
Broadcast
we send it
faculty.
broadcast faculty, broadcast staff. So we'll look at that and see if there are reasons that it's not making it to some folks in the university.
Yeah.
Because our desire is to paint a broad brushstroke.
Yeah,
So
the
I think
desire is that it
IS
goes
is
to
probably
every single
better than
faculty and staff. So
something
we'll,
April 13th.
that works.
okay, you found your,
Okay, April 13th.
okay. So
It
we'll
would come
definitely
from
look at that,
the
'cause that's,
workday@wfu.edu email address. But we'll look at that. We want to make sure it goes to everyone. Absolutely.
Check your spam folders maybe.
we'll check on our end to see,
Yeah,
and then
absolutely.
it's good,
Yeah.
yeah. That's great feedback to have. It's terrible if we think we're sending communication to everybody and everybody's not getting it.
We'll also set up an archive on the web. We do want to make sure you get it in a push communication format, but we'll set up an archive on the website so that you can see past issues just in case you did miss that one. So
I think IS has told us on occasion, perhaps something about the filtering on there or security settings on their own device can prevent someone from getting a message, which is completely out of our control, but it's everything that you do.
Okay.
we'll do everything we can to look at it and make sure that it's published archive.
Yeah.
Thanks for letting me know. Other thoughts, ideas, questions? And I would, yes.
You did say, like, one of the things I saw, Wendy Logan was in charge of Campus Life.
Yes.
And you are gonna break it down because Campus Life
Yes,
has
I am.
many different needs and they're very
Yes,
different.
I am.
Yes. Yes. It's like police and student health is gonna be very different from everyone else.
Yeah,
Right, right.
absolutely. That's a great question and a great example. Thank you.
Yeah, we have the same with the college. The college, it's huge. So trying to figure out, go from the 2 representatives we have for the college and break it down into different parts of faculty, different parts of staff to be sure that folks are communicated with sufficiently, in addition to what we do directly to the entire campus.
Great question. Others?
I think I'll just reiterate
Yeah.
what Eric said, and we can do whatever's next. But again, so that website is accessible to everybody, and so I want to be sure, because there's been some miscommunication, I guess. I want to be sure that you guys hear loud and clear that we very much need your feedback. So we'll work on why the broadcast email isn't hitting everyone. But please don't hesitate to go to that website and read about what's going on, and then also just submit questions. I mean, and again, you can do it anonymously if you feel like you don't want to offend somebody or something. Just use the anonymous thing, but if you want to be followed up with, use the other one. But don't hesitate to go in there and describe whatever concern you have. I know these forums are not the best, so we're trying to find other ways to get feedback, but I would just hate for anyone to leave here and think that we were saying that we didn't really mean it. So please, do give us feedback. Help us to make sure that we're engaged with you in ways that are going to work.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I think that form is a great way to introduce yourself as someone who has a vested interest in Workday, wants to be heavily involved. So please use that. I look forward to seeing you at upcoming meetings and engaging you and hearing your feedback throughout the process. Anything else we need to cover? All right. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
for having us.
Thank you all, Brandon, Beth, Eric, thank you so much for being here. Anybody else who was here on the Workday Steering Committee, thank you so much. We really appreciate this. And again, for everybody in the room, please feel free to use that website, workday.wfu.edu, to submit your feedback, to kind of check updates, follow them on Twitter. I'm not a tweeter myself, but I will, so that I can see these updates. So thank you guys so very much. We appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, so now we'll go into the business portion of our meeting, and we will have our updates from the standing committees as well as the goal report. So of course, for anybody who's new in the room, we, at the beginning of every academic year, we kind of list out our goals for the committees, and this is the part where we say, yay, we did this, or we're going to do this next year, or whatever the case may be. So let's go ahead to the communications committee. Or actually,
webpage. I had to ask what those were. I was completely clueless. Oh, did I hit something?
Oh, no, no.
Okay. And so those are the little Twitter and the Facebook icon things. And no, we didn't get those done. Obviously, I didn't know what they were, so I didn't get that accomplished. So we're carrying that forward to next year, and we hope to get that taken care of then. One of the things we are actually doing, yay, is live streaming our meetings. We have been live streaming today for the entire meeting, and so when we're able to do that, we're able to put that on our website. So you can either watch it during the meeting, or you can go back and watch it later if you were not able to be here, which is really nice. And then the other thing that we were not able to accomplish this year that we're planning to do next year is archiving newsletter archives to our website, so that the newsletters that we send out each month exist on our website for you to go back and check later. So that we will do next year. And then one of the things that we always do is work with everybody else in SAC and the other subcommittees to share information with you. So that we've done, and we'll continue doing for the rest of this year about our SAC picnic, which is coming up soon. So, any questions?
Okay, so we're trying to encourage everybody to attend the Staff Advisory Council meetings, and we'll continue to do that. This past fall, we worked with Pro Humanitate for some food collections, and that was in conjunction with Campus Kitchen. So we'll work again for another fall project, so we'll be open to ideas about what we might do for next fall. And then our big thing that we do is the Staff Advisory Council End of Year Picnic, and it's coming up June 6th at Bridger Fieldhouse. We're going to continue to try to make it bigger and better. One of the big things is, as we have grown every year with our picnic, our budget has stayed the same. We started out having 500 people. It went to 700 the next year, 900 last year. And we're still working within the same constraints of the same budget. So this year, we're planning for 1,000 people, but we're hoping to reach out and get some additional funding if possible, so that we can continue to make it a nice place that you can come for a couple hours, enjoy your friends, and not think about work, and just have a nice experience. We're going to continue to send out reminders about the picnic. I think everybody should have gotten a broadcast email reminding them. And we're going to still continue to reach out to facilities, police department, anybody that is not able to attend the meetings or may not have access to the internet. A way for them to RSVP to come to the picnic, and also to reach those people. We'll do goodie bags or something, so they'll be included even if they're not able to come to the picnic that day. One additional thing we're trying to do this year, we'll see how it turns out, is we're asking for donations for a raffle, so that when everybody comes in, you can sign up. You won't have to be present to win, but I know we've got some things coming from athletics. We've had several different departments reach out to see if they have some donations that they can contribute. And I would welcome any of you that have anything, even if it's, I've asked West Bend Vineyards down the road from me if they would like to donate a basket. So if you know of anybody that might be willing to donate something that would be fun to raffle off, please get in touch with me, because we would love to have something else. Okay, thank you.
Morning, everybody. I'm filling in for Miss Amy Cha-Cha with this, so I will answer questions accordingly with everything. Whether they're true answers or not, you can be the judge of it. So going through our goals here with things, partner with HR to discuss feasibility of bringing back the wellness incentive. So yes, we did do that. we are partnering in collaboration with Wake Forest Baptist Health on that. Amy or Baptist Health will be back in touch with you guys with the exact incentive program that will be coming up with that. Second goal, partner with the HR and Thrive to promote and increase awareness of staff well-being incentives. Outreach was done, but I know that staff there has gone a little short-staffed over there with the Office of Well-Being, some maternity leave and things like that, so it's something we still need to work on as far as the collaboration with that. So unsuccessful on that end this year, but looking to continue works with that going into next year. And then also one of our goals, assist HR with the continued education and understanding of the cost of care. You guys all open your newsletters, and I'm sure you've seen the Blue Cross Blue Shield letstalkcost.com link. If you haven't checked it out yet, I highly recommend doing it. It has a lot of great information there in regards to comparing costs and things with your plan. With that, and, Amy also noted here we have been working on, is one of our goals here, but with HR, HOF, and Faculty Senate Fringe to review and provide feedback for the benefit plan in general. So I have been working on that extra credit, I guess you call it. And, so, any questions? All right.
Thank you.
I don't want new membership.
All right, basically the purpose of membership is to track, make sure who's out here, how often they come, make sure that the information comes in, and you guys take it back to your locations, so that's always a success. We can pick up the paper. Here's one of our things we need to do a little bit better is to find ways of how we can encourage you guys, or ways that this communications, that one of the ways we do it is video, but we still need to work on ways to communicate information back to the group. So we'll work on that again this year. One of the things we looked at with the membership, I don't know if everybody can see, I'd be quiet away. But we want to look into ways of breaking down so that when we have these membership meetings or these votes, that we get good representation from staff. Sometimes big organizations, you know, you can have big departments always win votes, you know, they have send the same people over and over, or within organizations. So we're looking at ways to break it down a little bit better, so there's, I don't know, there's a bit of a chance for people to have be part of the process. And it continued. One of the things we look at for representation is looking at breaking things down, participation, that already. And some things that we're doing is increase paper ballots. Not everybody has access to emails, and a lot of times we send them the votes through Qualtrics. And so this year we said, okay, let's do paper ballots for those that don't have computers. So we did that to hopefully increase the participation for facilities and places like that. So that was a success this year. We were able to encourage that, collect the ballots, and get those in. So we'll continue to do that and see if it works. Any questions?
Staff to engage in pro-humanitarian efforts on campus. And this year we focused on, in the fall, we did our school supply drive, all the fun little stuff we collected from Mineral Springs, and we also partnered with the events committee to collect food for Campus Kitchen. In the spring, we're focused on the Habitat for Humanity Day, which is coming up this next Saturday. We have 15 volunteer slots. I've just heard about one person who's no longer able to make her time slot, and there might be another one. So if anyone in the room, or if you know of anyone in your departments that might be interested in volunteering with us, let me know, or I might maybe have one email we send out. We had a little email with directions. We might be able to send that back out just so we can fill, because 2 out of 15 spots, we want to go ahead and fill those back up. So we've got a full complement for next Saturday.
And then Barbara had done a quick search, and apparently 124 volunteers from Wake Forest have volunteered with the Habitat group since March 1st, which we thought was really neat. Even though we only had the 15 spots available for the day that we picked, we kind of promoted Wake Forest in general and wanted to get more Wake Forest participation with Habitat. And then Barbara also wanted me to mention at the picnic, we'd love for all of us to bring, if you can, any empty copy paper boxes. We're going to be collecting books for the school children, and we'd like to transport the books to the school in copy paper boxes since they don't collapse and all that stuff. So if all of us could bring a box, or if you can find a box, and just bring it to the picnic, we'll take care of it from there. We're going to have a truck from facilities going to take the books back to the school. We just kind of need to collect them in boxes. I think that's all we've got. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so how about some outside committee representatives? And I'm positive a lot of groups probably have not had the opportunity to meet. So how about Capital Planning Advisory? That would be Rachel and Craig, neither of them are here. Okay, so Faculty Senate, or we just sit down. Parking, this happens every time. Every time. So parking and transportation. Nothing to report. Okay. Tree Advisory, I don't see. Nope. Okay. This is going to be quick. DIPZ also has not met. Okay. Finance Advisory. Oh, right.
We do not.
We do not. Thank you. Professional Development, that's Amy Chacha, and she's not here. And the Poverty Task Force Group, Angela and I serve on this. I don't think the group has met since our last meeting, and I don't think there's anything new to report. If you were able to attend the Hoffmeilam financial update, he did kind of touch on some of the things that the Poverty Task Force Group is working feverishly on, and it sounds like things are going to go very well. So that's it for our report outs. So now we have to do our raffle drawing.
Did I get everyone who's not a SAC member or a new member? Did I get your name?
Oh,
You're new members, right?
I'm a new member.
New members.
So this is just for, sorry, this is just for guests.
So raffles that we do are for non-members.
Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Did we get you? I don't know. Oh, we've got.
Yes, I got both of you.
Yeah.
I got both of you, right? Yeah. So, I have that. Oh, have our guests.
Yeah.
Okay. Our raffle today is a $25 gift card to Bibbs Downtown.
Oh, there's a whole bunch of them.
Which one you want? Brandon Gilliland.
I love
Thank you.
We'll have to look in that journal.
So if we could take just a few minutes to acknowledge our new members in the room. I hate to put you all on the spot, but if I could ask you to introduce yourselves, that would be awesome. Before our May 25th training, we're going to get together with you all, of course, separately, but for the rest of the committee to know you, I'd love if you could stand up and introduce yourselves, newbies.
I'm Gerald Greaser. I work at the landscaping department, the horticulture department, so we're the ones that do all the flowers, do planting and all that good stuff. And I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I'm Sophia Berdici and I work at IS, and I'm also excited to be here. I am the program manager for Wakeware, and then I'm also workday project manager.
I'm Janice Jennings. I'm an admin in the Department of Psychology, and I'm excited to work here too.
Noel Shepard in athletics, and 1990 grad, and been here about 7 years, so happy to be here.
I'm Jan Taylor. I work in the School of Business.
Thank you.
Andy Whale, I'm the Senior Business Manager in Advancement. Thrilled to be here also.
soccer. Went here like 20 years ago, and I never knew there was an auditorium.
Buffy Best with budget financial planning. There are 17
Lee Myers, and I work in Benson, in the Dental Students area, and do all kinds of things for Benson.
For our new folks, I know we have at least one other person who's new, who's not here today, but thank you guys so much for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time out today. And again, we'll see you on May 25th for the training. Last thing I want to mention before we do our end of meeting, just a reminder that July 1, no, stop talking. So, retirement, the auto enrollment retirement, I just wanted to remind you, because this is coming up, we talked about this at a meeting recently, the auto enrollment for 5% of your words. Retirement.
Contributions.
Thank you, yes, contribution. If you are at 0 enrollment right now, in July, as of July 1, and coming out of your August paycheck, you will see a 5% deduction, contribution going into your retirement. Did I say that right?
5% of your annual salary.
Thank you. So if you have not taken a look at your contributions, if you know you're contributing 0%, do expect that 5% contribution out of your August paycheck.
And there is an
You can opt
opt-out
out.
feature, yes, there is an opt-out feature, but we prefer that you not do that. We want to make sure that we're financially secure after we finish employment here at this great university, and make sure you are able to enjoy life afterwards.
And I just got the mailing. I got that TIA thing. So if you all got that TIA thing in your mail at home, that's all I got. But you can go on to TIA.org, I believe, and change that contribution. So keep that in mind. We wanted to talk about, too, the picnic as far as the Google Doc.
Yes, yes. So we'll have a couple of tables when we come into the picnic for the guest book and the raffle drawing. We'll also have at least one station for the book take-in area for Mineral Springs. And so later today, I'll be sharing the Google Doc with all of you where I've listed out times and would love for you to sign up and help us out in those areas. And even if you don't sign up for a time, that does not mean you cannot come help. We are still going to say, yes, absolutely, come do something with us, absolutely.
And they are very short.
Yeah, we've got 30-minute time slots. So there are there are more members of SAC than there are time slots. So please don't make me email you twice.
Okay, I think that's it. So now, what I wanted to do to end our meeting today, so next year, of course, the committee, this executive committee and I will be working on scheduling meetings for 2017 to 2018. Probably going to be in this room and hopefully with Lee on our side in Benson. We love that room so much. Not necessarily here, but stay tuned for those calendar invitations. We'll have those hopefully coming out soon. Okay, so now, to our outgoing members, the people who are leaving the committee. We're sad that you're leaving, but we are so thankful for everything that you've done. So Amy, of course, is not here, but hey, Amy, by the way, I had to stalk Facebook and Google and everywhere to find these pictures, so I apologize.